Uh, Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for your interest. I'm from Turkey, Mehmet Aktan, from Baskent University, Ankara. We designed this research with my colleague. The title of the research is Problematic Technology Used in University Students, Example of a Foundation University. I will give a little information about the outline. Of course, an introduction, a brief conceptual framework, a methodology, results, a discussion, and conclusion. Before I start my presentation, I want to give a little quote that I really love about technology. Neil Postman, he says, a new technology sometimes creates more than it destroys. It destroys more than it creates. However, this is never one-sided. This shows us that a different and also dualistic nature about the technology. So not only advantages, but also some risks. And this research, we especially focus on the problematic use of technology. Briefly, what is the purpose of the research? The study focuses on the use of problematic technology used in university students, focuses on the dimensions of the relationship university students establish with technology, and aims to research a holistic and deep understanding of the negative and destructive effects and consequences of this relationship. Related with the conceptual framework, technology is our everything in this age. For example, near more than half of the global population, it means 4.5 billion people, is in the positive position of active internet users, according to the global data. For example, for Turkey, for 62 million people correspondent with internet. These are global varies, global data of Social and Housewife. A few slides later, I will give some graphics about related with these data. We wanted to give a conceptual framework with two sub dimensions, technology and new media in 21st century, of course, opportunities and also threats. The second one is Generation Z and their relationship with technology. Today's university students are Generation Z at the same time. There are different kind of definitions. One of them is a millennium age for this century. And there are some serious transformations in both public and social life of humanity, of us. Another important concept is new media. Before new media concept, it was called as traditional media, like maybe TV, radio. But now, today, both social media and also internet are the basic elements of new media. And also three basic features of the new media. For example, one of them is an interaction, demassification, and also asynchronous news. For example, while I'm making this presentation, Zoom participants are watching at the same time. This is a synchronous feature of new media. Of course, new media and also technology give some opportunities. it's very clear. But on the other hand, there are some risks and threats. For example, there are some new concepts, but before these new actual concepts, maybe I can share with you the definition of problematic use of technology. There are many different description, but we would like to give Turkish Green Crescent Society's definition. The use of technology by a person of any age negatively affects physical, psychological, social, and mental functioning. So, different dimensions of human body. These new terms, for example, I don't know, did you hear about these terms before, or have you ever read about them? But for example, FOMO, fear of missing out, is very common and actual problem. Cyberchondria, netless phobia, of course, cyber suicides, juvenile or child YouTuber problem, extreme sharing thing. These are as interesting as they also are risk and threat for our generation. So the last information about the conceptual framework, you know, there are some different definitions about generations, but this study focuses on the generation Z. So I also want to give information about the time spent using the internet and also demographic profile of social media users. Why these graphs? Because the focus of this research are university students, and they are really at the risk, and also their time spent are much higher than the other groups, other age groups. And also demographic profile. You see 20 and 29-year-old are the highest numbers of social media users. So methodology, this is a quantitative design and also relational screening model. Which questions we especially focused on? What is the relationship of students with technology and the level of time they spend with technology components? Also, addiction levels and their sub-dimensions are also important. Level of scores about addiction also important. And there are basically two measurement tools. Of course, a personal information form, but important ones are technology addiction scale, Likert type expressions, 4 sub-dimensions: social networking, instant messaging, online gaming, and websites, and 5 categories from low to high: not addicted, first one is not addicted, low level addicted, moderately addicted, high level addicted, and fully addicted. Between 0 and 6, this is the scale. If you have, for example, 5 points from the scale, that means you are not addicted. But if you have, for example, 45 points, that means you are fully addicted on technology, and also sub-dimensions, of course. And another one is technological addiction scale. This is about the psychosocial aspects of this addiction profile, addiction situation. First one is about you are addicted or not. But the second one, technological addiction scale, is about the aspects. For example, you may have deprivation. You may have difficulty in control. You may have impaired functionality or social exclusion. This tool measure that dimensions. So briefly, the profile of participants. We also give much more information at a full article. So what about the results? First, this figure includes participants' time spent with technology. You can see the 3 and 4 hours or 5 and 6 hours. These are most common results. Time spent in online games. This is also important because men are much more tend to have spent time in online games. But in this research, the majority of the participants were female, so these are low. This is important. We also wanted to measure the COVID process implementations. For example, do they spend much more time during the COVID-19 pandemic, sorry, and how much time you need. As expected, most of the participants' technology usage or technology needs are increased. This is another result of the study. Also, which technological content they much more tend to spend time. Mostly social media and instant media, of course, as expected. And students' satisfaction levels about the online and distance education. There are much more indecisive students, but both glad and unhappy students. And what about the addiction levels? Only one student, both not addicted and fully addicted. The majority is moderately addicted, sorry, low level addicted for this research. But high level is also important, of course, and also moderately addicted. These two sections is the most common in our research. And what about the discussion? Again, as expected, time spent with technology is very close relational with technology addiction levels and also attitudes. If you have spent much more time with technology, then your risk of problematic technology use and also other problems are rising. For example, you see the meaningful results also, and also attitudes from the second measurement tools. And what about the conclusion? In our research, another common result is all of the students have smartphones. This is a close relationship with the literature, because we know the Generation Z met mobile phones at an early age, for example, 13, maybe 14. So everybody, as we, have mobile phones. And also about the time, of course, another important point. In this research, this period intensifies between 3 and 4 hours, and 6 hours are intensifies, but global data shows that 3 hours, 3.5 hours maybe the moderate. But Generation Z is passing these moderate levels. So they are much more, their risk of problematic technology use is increasing because of these facts. As you see from the previous figures, addiction levels of participants, and also gender, an important indicator in many research, is a predictor of technology addiction, especially online gaming is important, and also cause to impaired functionality and social exclusion for male students. And other, you can see other relationships, social networking, instant messaging, using websites, deprivation, difficulty in control, impairment in functionality, and social exclusion. These are the psychosocial dimensions of problematic technology use, and it's very close relationship with the time. And of course, difficulty in control, impaired functionality, and social exclusion are another indicators of problematic technology use. Yes, and this was the last slides. I tried to summarize the results. I hope this give you an opinion about the Generation Z and about our research. Thank you for your interest.